Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. I am Debbie Brooks. I'm Senior Product Marketing Manager at ChiroTouch. Welcome to today's webinar with our guest, Dr. Aaron Gumm. He is CEO and co-founder of Blueprint to Practice Automation. Today is part 2 of his Practice Profitability series titled Processes to Profit. A little bit about Dr. Aaron Gumm. He's a practice automation wizard. He knows how to set up systems that save time, reduce stress, and boost revenue. Dr. Gumm founded Blueprint to Practice Automation as a game-changing platform. Clinics across the country have embraced Dr. Gumm's methods, and they're collecting more cash, spending less time on admin, and most importantly, helping more patients. So with that, let's get started. Take it away, Dr. Gumm.
Thanks, Debbie. I appreciate it. Really excited about delivering this message to you guys today. As you see, this is my beautiful family. As Debbie said, I'm the CEO of Blueprint to Practice Automation. I am a chiropractor. We have a chiropractic family. I graduated from Parker University in 2007, and we founded Blueprint to Practice Automation in 2016. So my promise for you today is to give you in this webinar, I'll teach you how to drive your PVA up to 6 to 7 times and create freedom with your practice with a few secrets that I have. These secrets I've taught to over 2,000 chiropractors since 2016. We've been able to land on the Inc. 500 and 5,000 list 4 years in a row, about to be 5 this year. And I'm not saying that just to brag, I'm just saying that I do have a lot of valuable information to share with you guys, and I'm excited for that. I've had the opportunity to run a lot of different type of practices and run them through the ringer and see where the pitfalls are, where the low ceiling glass ceilings are, where the problems are. I would say I always make a joke, if I gave myself a superpower, I'm really able to take complex things and make them simple and scalable. So I'm going to share with you some of those things today. But it all didn't start all roses and dandies when I started practice. It was an evolution of scaling profit and figuring out what the best way to do it is. And I'm not saying that my way is the only way. I'm not saying that any model is a bad model, but I'm just telling you my experience. A lot of information I'm going to tell you today is going to be from my personal point of view, and I'm going to go through some strategies as well. And these will be also strategies that you can take and run with and do yourself in your practices. I started off with a high volume practice when I started my practice, and we were seeing 500 to 600 patients a week. A lot of moving parts, a lot of new patients, mostly chiropractic. A lot of you on here can probably connect with that, right? We're seeing a lot of patients every day. But what I found in that model is there was a glass ceiling that I hit over and over and over again. And I kept beating my head up against the wall trying to figure out how I can fix it, right? We were doing well. We were helping a ton of people, making a great living. But at what expense? I was sacrificing a lot of my free time, my family, my hobbies, my kids. So I really just wanted to work a little bit smarter. I wanted to see how I could make the same amount of money or more money with not having to see as many patients. I started looking at the integrated model. So the integrated model being that I started adding medical practitioners to my office, and had the ability to build medical services under insurance. And I found out real quickly that I actually could double my income with seeing half the patients. But after doing well, if any of you have built insurance at a high level, once you bill a certain point, you become a red flag to an insurance company. It's a software thing. It's like if you collect this much per year, it's a red flag. You get flagged, they send you a letter, they ask for 20 files, and then you're in an audit, right? So went through a few of those, and we passed with flying colors, weren't doing anything wrong, but it's very stressful when you have a Blue Cross Blue Shield or an Aetna or whatever, a major insurance company saying that you're doing things wrong, and they're trying to figure out ways not to pay you. And then they're dictating your patient's care, which as chiropractors, we're passionate about patient care and getting patients clinical results. So that's the last thing that I wanted, is someone dictating what I could do for my patients. We added some cash, regenerative medicine stuff, but it really still was a hurdle. I saw the glass ceilings in that model because I had to manage the medical practitioners. I would have nurse practitioners leave the office just to make $5 per more hour in another practice, in a hospital or another practice. Medical director not showing up to the practice. And then at the same time, I'm dealing with insurance companies. So I really looked at like, okay, well, I don't want to have a high volume practice because it has a low glass ceiling. And I'll get into some details about that here in a minute. I don't want to do an integrated practice because there's just too many things that aren't willing to manage all the stress and management of it. So I started looking at, I had a business coach that wasn't in the chiropractic profession at the time. And I sat down with him and said, let's look at options. Let's kind of put some ideas on paper. And, one of the things that he brought up to me that was kind of an eye opener to me, and I didn't really think about it this way, was the medical model. I know it's taboo for me to say the medical model, but one thing that he pointed out to me was that, Dr. Gumm, chiropractic is seen about 12%, 13% of the population. What's going on with the other 87%? How can we reach those people? Because if you look at the medical model, they fit patients into a niche specific solution. The solutions usually aren't a good solution. It's drugs, surgeries, injections, but we're trying to fit everybody into a chiropractic philosophy. Even though you can niche down to like headaches and migraines and so forth in chiropractic, but he had something there, and I kind of ran with it. Some of the things he said I didn't agree with, but I said, you know what, you have some, you're speaking a language that speaks opportunity. So I started looking at, okay, so what if I added niches to my practice? So like neuropathy, knee pain, weight loss, gut health, functional medicine, plantar fasciitis, shoulder pain, those type of niches. So I picked a couple of those niches, I think two to three niches, and started marketing them after I come up with a solution for a protocol. Well, I had a ton of new patients, like the floodgates opened up for the practice. It was a lot easier getting patients and communicating with patients to a specific condition. And the cool thing was I still taught them chiropractic on the back end of that message. So fast forward, we flooded our practice, we tripled our revenue, but guess what? Some more hurdles started happening. I was doing 2 to 3 seminars a week at night. So I was getting home late, seeing my kid. The kids were in bed, dinner was cold, wife was in bed. I was stuck in the consult and ROF room every day, all day, 6 to 7 hours a day, saying the same thing over and over again. Protocols were great. We had them all in the practice. There were some bottlenecks because the more patients we got in the practice, the more expensive machines that we needed, the lasers and the PMFs, the shock waves, decompression, stuff like that. So the more patients we got, the more machines we needed. So I needed to figure that out. So there was some bottlenecks there. I was a lot happier because I was getting all my money up front. You can charge more premium case fees for niches. But I was getting all my money up front, and I didn't have to worry about the insurance company paying me, and I was making a lot more money and helping patients with more serious conditions, and they appreciated it more. The things that I experienced with patients when they got better from like neuropathy and knee pain and those types of pain conditions was unbelievable. So I needed to figure it out. So I'm going to go over some strategies on what I did to figure that out, to make the niche model a perfect model to implement into your practice. And I'm going to share some of those strategies. But first of all, let me go over some stats. This is an interesting stat. Chiropractors make on average $36 per hour, net $721. They have a debt of $250,000. If you wanted to pay off that debt after the amount of hours you need is 34,664.45 hours. That's 866.61 work weeks. That's 16.66 years. And that's not including house, car, family, food, hobbies, insurance. So let's just say you're living at your parents' house in the basement and you're eating their food on their insurance and you're driving their car. Obviously, we all know that that's not a feasible story, but it's a real problem. So when we look at the average revenue per visit, is typically in chiropractic around $30 per visit. Some people are in the 50, maybe 75. Very rarely do I see $100 per visit unless they're in like Illinois billing insurance and they're still able to get all the allowables for 9110s, rehab, and so forth. But either way, if you're in the 30, 75, or $100 per visit, you're still in the no freedom stage. You're relying on multiple low value visits. You have a low glass ceiling. When we start adding niches to chiropractic on top of chiropractic and adding niches to increase your reach and revenue, you start getting into that value addition stage where your per visit is 300, 500, 700. And then when we start replacing repetitive tasks, adding business training for staff development, adding personnel and profit growth positions, you start getting into the automation phase, which is $750, $800 to $1,000 per visit. Now, you're probably saying to yourself, well, I see the patient 24 times. Am I going to charge $1,000 per visit for $24,000? No, you're not going to do that. But I'm going to show you systems and processes that you can work for you where you don't have to see the patient as much. Obviously, we can't do anything about chiropractic. You're always going to have to fix the problem with repetitive tasks. But how can we add services onto chiropractic to be able to debunk the system and flip it up on top of its head? So the three things that I promise you today to go through, well, really 2.5. The first one is how to tap into the 87% that chiropractic is not reaching and increase your reach and revenue overnight. How to leverage plug and play systems that automate your patient's acquisition process, protocol deployment, and product distribution in high premium niches. And then the third one I'm going to touch on a little bit because it is our next 2 months topics, how to automate your business operating systems, developing a rock star staff-driven practice. So make sure you stay to the end because I've never done this. My team thought I was crazy for doing this, but I'm going to do it because I'm excited about it. I really want to really give back to the Chiro Touch listeners and their following. I really value their service and what they do for the profession. So stay until the end. I have a $30,000 plus revenue generating prize at the end. Do not miss this opportunity. I'm probably going to not do it again, but I wanted to do it for today. So I'm excited to announce that at the end. So secret number one is how to tap into the 87% of the chiropractic is not reaching and increase your reach and revenue. So that's going back to niches. So when we look at just a pie chart, so it makes it really real when we look at this. When we look at chiropractic, we're seeing 13% of the population. So we're fishing in that pond, that 13% pond, trying to get the new patients, trying to hook that new patient to come in the office for that $30 to $50 per visit fee. We need multiples of those to be able to be successful. And I even believe at 1,000 a week practice, you're still not getting what you should and what you deserve as a practitioner. You may be making $80,000, $90,000 a month, $100,000 a month, seeing that many patients. It's not nearly what potential you have to make an impact in your community, in your practice by adding niches. We can still do chiropractic. We're not abandoning chiropractic. But if you start fishing in the 87%, the blue part, you're casting your reel out, catching patients that are worth three to four times more than a chiropractic patient and still teaching them chiropractic on the back end, not needing as many patients, and our revenue and reach goes from 13 to 87%. If we're doing both, we're at 100% reach into our communities. That's a win, right? We can fish in both ponds, or we can fish in one pond and teach them the other pond. So you can have chiropractic patients coming in and teach them weight loss, functional medicine, gut health, keto. You can fish in the 87% pond and have neuropathy patients, knee pain patients, shoulder patients, plantar fasciitis patients, and then teach them chiropractic on the back end. So we got to really think about what our LTV, our lifetime value of our patient, what our overall value of what that patient is, because we're exchanging our time for money on the adjusting table. How can we increase the value of our time and how can we increase the value of our patient? Well, that's with niches. So when we look at the niche model, we have chiropractic, we have neuropathy, knee pain, body contouring, weight loss, keto, Trust Your Gut, which is our gut health program, which treats autoimmune, psoriasis. We have fibromyalgia, decompression, shoulder pain, plantar fasciitis. We have a non-medical erectile dysfunction niche, regenerative medicine, neurofeedback, and wellness. When we look at the opportunity in these niches, it's $1 trillion opportunity from an industry value standpoint just by fishing in that 87% pond. So that's an instant way to increase our value of our practice, our services, our time, our dedication, our chiropractic license that we paid a lot of money for, and still be able to serve our community with chiropractic. Because once we start switching the message up, we've had the same message for since 1895. We're still seeing 13% of the population. If we just switch our message up on the front end from a marketing standpoint and have a protocol that serves that niche, we can still teach them chiropractic on the back end and make a huge impact for chiropractic, the chiropractic profession in our communities, by switching up our message and our protocols on the front end. So when we look at secret number 2, the easy part is adding niches, right? High premium case fees, collecting more money. But going back to my story, right? I was in the consultation ROF room all day. I was doing seminars 2 to 3 times a week, getting home late at night. I was not seeing my family, eating a cold dinner, sometimes not a dinner. I'd have to put something together. And all of our protocols were in the office, so there's a lot of bottlenecks there. I kept having to buy expensive machines, shock waves and lasers and those type of machines. And I needed to figure out how to restructure those protocols to deploy to our patients a lot more efficiently. So when we look at, the first options, we got to look at the operational cost efficiency. So I was spending a lot of time, and our staff was spending a lot of time. So that is money. So time is money. A lot of people don't realize this, but when you're spending a lot of time doing something, that's operational cost and operational impact to your practice. So when you're spending a lot of time inefficiently, that looks like the first option from A to B. When you're systematizing things, automating things, and have things working for you, that's option number 2 from A to B. Very efficient, straight line, boom, A to B, efficient. You're not wasting time, you're not wasting energy, you're being efficient with you and your staff's time. So if you just took the time that you're saving for yourself as a doctor, as I go through these strategies, it's worth hundreds of thousands of dollars that you can reinvest back into your business, back into your family, back into your hobbies. So when I started looking at ways to do this, I'm going to hit these areas highlights, and I'm going to go over the details after this. But I started looking at automated systems. Another thing I went through as a business consultant, I went to my business consultant and says, man, every other industry uses automated systems and technology to leverage to work more efficiently. Chiropractic doesn't. We use EHRs, but nothing to systematize protocols, systematize workflows, systematize things, or day ones, day twos, seminars. How can we automate patient education? How can we keep our patients accountable without being our time and sitting down with them? How can we track our patients to keep them accountable? How can we restructure protocols and make them hybrid clinical protocols? And then once we do that, if we can push a majority of the care at home and online, how are we able to distribute and deploy the products to the patients to have stock efficiencies? So these are all things that I'm about to go over. And so get your pen and paper. This would be really cool if you could do this in your clinic, right? These are all things that you would be interested in: saving time, saving energy, doubling, tripling, 5xing your collections with less time. That'd be really cool, huh? It was cool for me, and I'm really happy to be able to share it with you today. And I've been blessed to be able to teach over 2,000 chiropractors these same systems. So I'm going to go through each and every one of them. I'm going to tell you how you can do it yourself. I'm going to tell you how I did it, and then we'll go through that. So I'm going to tell you a story. So I'm going to go through our automated seminar framework, but first I'm going to tell you the story of how Blueprint to Practice Automation was originated. It was the birth of our company, literally. And it started with me waking up on a Thursday, having 40 neuropathy patients come in. They're supposed to come to a seminar that night, and I had the flu. I had 103 temperature. There was no way I was getting out of bed. I didn't know what I was going to do, because if you take 40 times $7,000, that's 280,000 potential in collections coming to my office that night. Unfortunately, when you have a personality-driven practice, I was the only one that could do the talk. I was the only one that knew the information. I was the only one that could close the room. So, halfway through the day, I'm like, okay, well, I remember I made a video of me talking over the PowerPoint, and I used to send it to patients that lived far away. So they were educated before they came to the office. They would drive a couple hours, and then they were educated, and we could do everything in that one day and get them closed up as a new patient. So I called my office manager, and I said, okay, this is what we're going to do. The same TV that I do the presentation on in the rehab area, I want you to pull this video up that we send to patients. This is what I want you to say in the introduction. I want you to push play. I want you to tell them why we use technology in our process. And this is how I want you to close it out. My staff thought I was nuts. My office manager was like, we're not going to do this. We can just reschedule them. I said, no, we're going to do this. So that night came, we did the seminar. They performed it, and we closed 85% of the room on paid consultation exams without me doing the seminar. How cool is that? So what happened is I never did a live seminar again. And then the light bulb came on. I'm like, where else can we automate in our processes? What else is repetitive in our processes? Because there was no way in heck I was going to do another live seminar closing 85% of the room, which was better than I did. I usually were between around 80%. So I literally and instantaneously saved myself 3 nights in the week, a process that's staff driven, doesn't rely on me. We could have seminars during the day if we wanted to, throughout the day if we have it in a spare room if we wanted to. And we didn't have to sacrifice, I didn't have to sacrifice my family, hobbies, and my health. I get home, enjoy my family, and know a system's working for me, and it's not a stressful system. It's something that performs perfectly every single time. And obviously, our product now isn't me over a voiceover. We have our own production team, and we've spent millions of dollars on these videos. But we have a great system. So the next thing I looked at was day one. How can I automate my day one? So what I did is, because going back to my story, I was stuck in day one doing consult exams and my education process and recapping what the seminar said and reminding them of what they learned in the seminar. And I said, I need to get out of day one. So I was happy in the beginning just stopping seminars. So I looked at day one, I recorded myself. I said, okay, 90% of my day one is repetitive. I'm saying the same thing over and over again, every single time. And you can do the same thing for you. You can record your day one and you can actually see how much is repetitive. Obviously, the consultation exam is going to be different for each patient. But I knew at that point, and you can do the same thing, is I can teach someone to do a consultation and exam. I can't teach someone to educate with the right tonality and the right verbiage and the right seeds to be planted in the education process. That's hard to teach. So I automated day one, and then I put one of my CAs and taught her how to do a consultation, an exam. I had my associate come in and do any spinal portion of the exam. So I literally exited myself out of the entire day one. So I'm out of the seminar, I'm out of day one, and all I'm doing is day twos now. So as you know, what the next step was is, how do I automate day two? So the automated day two framework was, I was going in there saying the same, going back to my story, stuck in the day two, saying the same thing over and over again. Obviously, a care plan may be different, but the education piece of it, 90% of day 2 was repetitive as well. So I was all about it. So I looked at it. I recorded myself in day 2. I did it a few times just to make sure that, hey, okay, 90% of this is repetitive. I automated it. So did a PowerPoint, did a voiceover. And this is the product of me just solving my own problems in my practice, right? This isn't where I was making it to sell to other doctors. I was just solving a problem for myself. So at that point, day 2, automated it, and the rest was history. So I was out of seminars, I was out of day 1s, I was out of day 2s. So these are things to start thinking about in your practice, guys and gals, is where are your repetitive actions and what can you automate in your practice? You think that it has to be perfect, but it doesn't have to be perfect. If you saw the first product that I made for myself in my practice, you would laugh, but it worked. That's all that mattered. So after I was out of the seminars day 1, day 2, I could actually feel the freedom coming back into my life. Literally overnight, I could feel myself being free and flexible and mobile as a business owner. I was able to think. I was able to think freely and had the freedom of choice of some things. If I didn't want to come into the office that day, I didn't come into the office that day because I had already taught the case manager to do day 2s as well. So I looked at the next thing is the hybrid clinical protocols framework. So as I was saying, there was a lot of bottlenecks in the protocol standpoint. So the more patients we got, the more machines we had to buy, right? Because if you're going to be busy, one laser, one shockwave is not going to work if you have the patient coming in 3 to 4 times a week. It's not going to work. You're going to have 3 or 4 of them. So when we looked at that, the hybrid clinical protocols, I started doing a lot of research and started meeting with a lot of reading a lot of research and meeting with a lot of supply companies and manufacturers of devices. So I started looking at infrared devices, stimulation devices that could be used at home. A lot of products out there, a lot of junk out there. I've learned the hard way, obviously trying these things, but there are some good products out there that are backed by research that you can reference the research. FDA cleared, made in the USA, not made in China, where it's going to break down or burn a patient or whatever it may be. So we pushed 90% of the clinical care to the home. Now you're probably thinking, Doc, that's not going to get clinical results. Well, think about this. If a patient's coming in, let's say 3 times a week for 12 weeks, it's 36 visits. What if they're treating themselves daily for 90 days, once to twice a week? That's 90 to 180 visits versus 36. Who's going to get the better results? The home care. And I learned this because all of our difficult patients, when we shifted to this, started getting way better clinical results. Patients loved it because they didn't have to drive to the office. Usually people that have chronic conditions don't want to drive to your office 3 times a week or 4 times a week. So we pushed 90% of the care out of the clinic to the home, and then we started pushing all the patient's education into a software to educate the patient every single day, because that was another bottleneck. Our team was working really hard, answering questions, educating the patients, talking about foods they should be eating or shouldn't be eating. Well, a lot of this were very repetitive. They're all the same questions. They're all the same thoughts from a patient. So I imagined if I was sitting across the desk from a patient, what would I put together? And you can do this for your patients too. What would you want to say to your patient over the 90 days? What would you want them to learn? How can you get ahead of the patient of what questions they're going to ask, and put it into a software where it's delivered every single day for the duration of their care? And you can actually be ahead of the game, teaching them concepts of like why sugar is inflammatory, or why this is bad for neuropathy, or why this is bad for knee pain, what exercises to do, what positions to sit in. These are all things that we did in our office, and now we have them for all 16 clinical niches that we offer at Blueprint to Practice Automation in a software. So when we look at that, we automated all the patient education. So now we pushed all the home care at home. We pushed all the education online. They're only coming in the office once a week now. Usually in that once a week visit, they're getting a chiropractic visit. And maybe at that point you can use a shock wave or a laser, whatever you have. You don't need those things, but if you have them, we can teach you how to leverage those for that once a week visit to increase that perceived value for that once a week visit. But you don't have to go buy a bunch of those things to get clinical results, because a lot of all the clinical results really are coming from the home care. And it gives the freedom to the patient to be independent to their condition this way, because they're armed with the proper information, with the education and the proper protocol, with the home care, to be independent to their condition long term, so they don't have to be dependent on your practice. And that's why you can actually charge $6,000, $7,000, $9,000 for some of these care plans. And you're probably thinking like, I can't sell a care plan that way. Selling niche services are way easier in chiropractic, 100%. So when we look at that, we got to look at how we track the patient. So once they're in this software, there's a lot of softwares out there and you can research them. But the software that we use it tracks them, it keeps them accountable. We can run reports on them on how active they are in the system, how many times they watch their daily visit or daily message. Because when we look at the trends in healthcare today, 80% of healthcare consumers say they select doctors based on convenience factors alone. That's from Forbes magazine. And this is even higher after the pandemic. I'm not saying that we're a victim of the pandemic, but people are used to being accessible to information, accessible to treating themselves, accessible to care at home with virtual visits. I did a virtual visit yesterday. That's why I'm on camera today. I've had bad hay fever from something allergic in the pollens. I did a virtual visit yesterday just to see if what I had. Literally, I got on a call and did a virtual visit within seconds. Convenience care. I didn't even go anywhere. So when we think about that, going back, I automated seminar, we automated the day one, the day two, patient education. We pushed all the clinical protocol online, at home. They're coming to the office once a week, and we're collecting 4 to 5 times more the money, and they're only coming in once a week. That's flipping the system on top of its head, guys. Wouldn't that be cool if you could do that in your practice? Would that make a big impact in your practice to be able to do that? Heck yeah, it would, right? So we're all obviously with our protocols, we're using FDA cleared and GMP certified evidence-based protocols and product distribution. And that's the next thing is once we pushed our protocols to the house and online, obviously in the beginning, I was holding stock with all these products. I had nutrition, private label nutrition in our office. I had infrared devices, stimulation devices, and I had a full-time employee managing this in our practice. I tried to look at working with other companies that were willing to have a private labeled kit with a patient handbook in it, and drop ship it to the patient and manage the stock. I come to find really quickly it's really expensive to do that just for one practice. So I just got all the standard operating procedures down in our practice. And once we started Blueprint, I just literally took the standard operating procedures and implanted it into a 12,000 square foot facility. We have a full-time facility that ships out thousands of orders per day across the country to all of our customers' patients. But you can create your SOPs to be able to do this in your office as well. Just know that you're going to have an employee managing that. So just understand that. So when we look at that, we've automated everything. This is where you start getting from the no freedom stage of $30 to $50 per visit to $300 to $500 to $700 to $750 to $850 to $1,000, because we've implemented systems, implemented niches first with our higher premiums. We've implemented systems to automate those things, to take it off the doctor's plate and the staff's plate. Because a lot of times you're just putting your thumb on the system and managing the system and let it work for you. So it's working for you while you're on vacation, while you're at home, while you're sleeping. These protocols are working for you at all times because they're treating themselves at home. The automated education, your staff could be running automated seminars day one, day two in the office without you. You can go on vacations for more than a day or 2 days. You can be gone for 2 weeks and know that the practice is going to operate efficiently. So this is why I encourage you to look at going back and looking at your systems and seeing where your opportunity is to automate these things. It doesn't have to be perfect, guys. You can literally framework this out, just like I was explaining on how I did it, and do it yourself in your practice. I promise you that the impact that it's going to make on your practice, your family, the transformation that you're going to experience through this process and becoming a CEO and being your mind going to be free. I know a lot of you on here that are chiropractors, or majority of you are probably on the table adjusting. You're managing your day through your treatments. You may have some associates, a lot of moving parts, but to make $30 to $50 a visit, I mean, it's a great, it's not all about the money, but it's about freedom, right? We went to school, we worked our butt off, right? We got our license, and we deserve a model and a process and system that's going to give us back all the hard work we put into that. So I encourage you to do that. So when we looked at secret number 3, so how to automate your business operating systems, developing a rockstar staff-driven practice. So there was a day I was sitting in my office, and it was the 10th day of the month. I remember it so vividly. It was the 10th day of the month. It was a summer month, I think it was July. And there was very little patients in the office. This is like, 3 or 4 months into the transformation of this. And I'm like, gosh, where's all the people? What's going on? So I go out to the front desk and I ask my office manager, where were we at in the collections? Because I wasn't doing day 2 at this time. So I was keeping stats on a daily basis, but I wasn't sure where we were at in collections. But and I said, what are our collections right now? They're like, well, we're at $100,000 on the 10th day of the month. We had a third of patients in our office. So it almost seemed slow, but we were impacting our collections 4 to 5 times more. And we had a system where my staff had free time now. And I'm like, okay, they're sitting around. I need to figure out how I can make things more efficiently. There were some things that we were still training on. So we're still training on the phones, day 1, day 2. So I started looking at things. I'm like, how can I make this more efficient? So I started putting curriculums online for phone training, day 1 training and day 2 training for our front desk and our case managers. Because I was always the one training them. I always had the information in my head. So I made the curriculums, and we have very good curriculums now for our clients. But in the interim, in my practice, I made the curriculums and put them into a platform. And then at that point, when we trained, it wasn't about me teaching them. It was about them going through the curriculum. And then when I showed up, we just role played, and I was there a very short period of time. And I eventually passed that off to a case manager to be able to be the head of training for case management, and the office manager trained on the phones. So I took all that knowledge out of my head and put it into a curriculum. And today we have simulators that simulate a phone call in a day 1 and a day 2 for our Blueprint to Practice Automation customers. It's almost like tactical training. They can jump in the software and it teaches them really quickly. And it actually mimics a phone call a day 1 and a day 2. So we automated that. So I started thinking about, where else am I spending a lot of my time? It's being a CEO, right? Running a business and having business knowledge and being able to teach an office manager that is a hard thing to do. It takes time. So after we had the automated systems and the automated clinical protocol programs in place and the automated staff training for phones day 1, day 2, I said, how can I teach entrepreneurship to an office manager or staff in an efficient way? So I broke all the topics down into strategy, team, and operations. So when we look at, strategy, and when we look at the 3 reasons why chiropractic businesses fail or stop growing, is the first one's the lack of delegation, not maintaining a business plan or structure, lack of organization or clarity, and then are we continually optimizing these in your business? Your clinical operating system is important. It's the one that I just went over, but we leave the business operating system to a wayside of how we're running our business. So this is just a snapshot at all the business operating tools that we have available. You're never implementing all these tools. Every white line underneath that blue subtopic is a tool. It allows you to your staff to be able to use the tool and go through that area of the business. But you need to know the areas that you need to work on. So we have a practice assessment that you're probably going to have access to next month at the topic, on our next topic, to take and see where you're needing work at. But we break it down into strategy, which is foundations, financials, and overarching strategies. I'm not going to go into these because we're going to go over these topics, the core topics, next month and the following month. But mission, vision, values, core goals, mindset, P&L stability, compensation models, product knowledge, product utilization, scalability. And then we break it down into a team. So it's human resources, team alignment, and team performance. And then operations, which is office optimization, patient experience, and patient acquisition. And I know I'm flipping through these a lot, and don't worry about it. You're going to have access to these and more information about these at our next two topics. But I started teaching our staff and our office manager how to use these tools to really implement strategic business moves when something is needed. So let's just say your KPIs are not being reported properly. We have a tool for that. Your daily stand-up meeting isn't happening. We have a tool for that. Your weekly level up meeting isn't happening. We have a tool for that. How to incentivize your staff. We have a tool for that. How to how to hire and keep your staff accountable. We have a tool for that. So all these tools are important for situational things, but we'll get into those in the next topic. So I know it seemed like you're drinking from a fire hose today. I went over a lot of information in a short period of time, and I wish I could have 3 to 5 hours with you to teach our entire model on how to do it. But you can do these things yourself, right? You don't need blueprint, practice automation. I'm honored to be able to deliver this and get your mind working. I'm trying to get you thinking differently. But because of that, I do have an offer for you guys today. Like I said, if you stayed till the end, it looks like a lot of you did. My offer to you is a free trial with our system. And we're going to be able to help you implement for 30 days. It doesn't take 30 days to implement, but you're going to have a free trial for 30 days. And that's with our metabolic system, our business model. So be able to add weight loss, gut health, keto, body contouring, autoimmune, thyroid, fibromyalgia to your chiropractic patients. That whole system's worth $18,000. Our automated seminar is worth $57,000, and we're putting values of these of like a fraction of what we've spent on doing these things. Our automated day 1, day 2 is $51,000. Literally an employee that replaces you. Well worth it. Evidence-based protocols and distribution. We're going to teach you how we do it in our system. Private label product distribution and team and system. So you're going to have access to the 11,000 square foot facility. All of our 10 employees there. Our private label products, our drop ship model, when you start adding these patients into your practice, onto your chiropractic patients, or your inactive or your active patient list that we're going to teach you how to market. This is an example of our packaging that we're about to launch. Our current packaging is awesome, but this is our new packaging. If you can imagine an oversized iPad box, but with supplements in it, it's very cool. Virtual clinical model, business model. So if you have patients that live far away, we have a virtual model that's really positioned really well with the way we structure our clinical protocols. It naturally can go into virtual if you ever wanted to do that. We teach you the training in that. We have our clinical protocol guide app, so you can input all the information about your staff, about your patient. We have a one-page sheet that allows you to understand what protocol is best for that patient on a metabolic standpoint. It gives you exactly what you need to do. You're probably thinking, I need to understand functional medicine. Well, we put functional medicine into a one-page wellness score and an app that does all the work for you. Phone curriculum and phone simulator. So you're going to be able to train on your phones for 30 days for free. That value is $9,997. It literally is a phone call that pops up, and it's going to be able to train your staff on phones. Day 1, day 2 curriculum and phone and simulator. So worst case scenario, you learn how to do day 1, day 2 better, and you close more chiropractic patients. And we have that curriculum and simulator, which is worth $997 too. Again, we simulated day 1. We have a curriculum. It's definitely more advanced than what I had in my own practice for our clients. Then we have an onboarding process proven. So you'll go through a little bit of education. You'll go through a strategy call, a fast track program. You can have this implemented within a week. into your practice and start making some money for the first 30-day trial. So when we look at the value, 18,000, 57,000, 51,000, 33,843, 15,997, 9,997. That's a total of $204,834. And obviously, we're not going to charge you that. We're going to give you for free. For 30 days, you're going to have a free trial. It's going to allow you to go through our onboarding process, get to know our team. You're actually going to be in our platform, see everything that we offer. So it's a good way to learn more about us. But we wanted to give back, and minimally you can make $5,000 to $40,000 in this implementation process. I think we had someone make 60. But to do that, we're only going to have a free trial open for the next hour. So make sure you scan this, take a picture of it, schedule it. This link will go inactive in an hour. So make sure you schedule your call. Your first call is a 15-minute kickoff call. And we're just going to ask you a few questions about your goals, what you're trying to accomplish in your practice. It allows you to learn more about us, and we'll move forward on the next step in our free trial. Again, this is going to be an awesome experience for you guys. We put this together just for you guys, so make sure you guys get scheduled, and we look forward to meeting you.
Dr. Gumm, that was great information. What a fabulous offer. All right, question number 1. How long did it take you to transition to this automated framework?
It took me personally to make it for my practice to fix my pain points in my practice. It took me 2 years to make everything systems and processes. To fully get it to where I wanted it to be as a product, it took me about 24 months. Our customers that go through our systems and processes to implement it, they're implemented within 30 days.
All right, next question. What are your thoughts on the weight loss niche with new medications that are becoming popular?
Yeah, that's actually a good question. We're actually seeing a lot of patients that need our gut health program because of Ozempic and all those type of medications out there that are actually disrupting the gut. So when they come in and they take a survey because they're having gut issues, they're actually a qualifier for our gut health program. But you're never going to be losing weight the right way and in teaching people the right foods. You're always going to have your people that want the quick fix, but one of the quick fixes that we teach is body contouring, on how to offer body contouring, lose 2 to 4 inches in 25 minutes. That's the quick fix that you can offer from a marketing standpoint, and then teach them what they really need in the back end, which is the true protocol for weight loss.
The last question we have is, what is the monthly fee for BPA?
Yeah, so that differs. So we have different options. This depends on what your goals are and what your aspirations are for your practice. So that's why we're doing the free trial. It allows you to get in there and get into our systems and processes, talk to our staff. We have an onboarding team that just does onboarding. So you're going to be able to experience our onboarding team. They're phenomenal. They're so cool. Great people. And that way, you can learn along the way and ask questions, and then we'll say, okay, if your goal is this is what you should do, and this is what the fee is. So the best thing to do is just get in touch with our team.
Sounds good. So that's a wrap for part 2 of Dr. Gumm's series, Mastering Practice Profits. For part 3, which will be focused on principles to profit, our host will be Toby Hughes, COO of Blueprint to Practice Automation. He'll share foundational elements of mission, vision, and values that help shape your business direction and culture for sustained profit and success. Thank you all for joining. We appreciate you being here and hope you have a good rest of your day. And thanks again, Dr. Gumm.
Thank you all. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.